Welcome, everyone, to the Deviant Gentleman Podcast. My name's Shane Vitko, along with my co-host, Tommy Vext.
What's going on,
What's
buddy?
up, my man?
Right.
Today, we are sitting down with Lieutenant Steve Heineman, retired lieutenant from the Santa Monica PD. How are you, sir?
Very good, very good. 2012, alongside, Tommy's a good friend of mine for a number of years and stuff too. So he asked me, and that's why I'm here, man.
Sorry to hear about that.
I know.
It's a rough life.
I didn't want to go on air about that, but we can talk about that.
Yeah. They're gonna beat me up after this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's gonna be.
No,
but they're not gonna film it though. You know what I mean? I'm a little worried here. I'm the only black guy, and there's a cop and an ex-white supremacist.
No,
what
this
am I
cop would
do?
never let you get beat up. I'm not saying it's nothing wrong. Just this is my guy, so I never let him get beat up.
That's right. That's right. You're my 911. I don't even call 911 if something goes wrong. I call Steve.
Yeah,
it's true.
But yeah, so there's a lot. So okay, so welcome everybody who is just tuning in for the first time. This is the Deviant Gentleman Podcast. My brother Shane started this year, and I came on and joined, and this is kind of episode 1 of the new era. There is a lot going on. A lot of people who might be tuning into this already previously follow the podcast. A lot of people follow me from my band Bad Wolves through social media. A lot of people know that I've been getting censored. My posts and my live streams on Facebook and Instagram have been taken down. So a lot of my rants and stuff have been canceled. So we moved everything over to here, and we're going to talk about solution. We're going to talk about the civil unrest. We're going to talk about racism. We're going to talk about police brutality. We're going to talk about the right way to go about change. We're going to talk about we're going to have non-censorship, and we're going to talk about kindness and the effect of what is capable of the human heart when we open our minds and open our hearts and we embrace each other as equals and try to forge solutions. I think everybody in the world right now is hurting because we want solutions to the problems. There are economic issues, there are race relation issues, there's a lot of problems going on. So thank you guys. Steve, thanks for coming on. I'm going to give Steve a little bit of a rollout. So Steve, was started out as a police officer in 81?
89.
89, okay, 89.
89, I'm not that old, man.
Listen,
Come on, man.
Listen, man. Listen, okay, I'm not, listen, this is my first time. I'm usually singing on stage. And you started out as in the HLP, which is the...
No, I started on patrol. Here, you want
patrol.
me to do?
Yeah, you do it.
Let me help you out, brother.
Help me.
Dude, I'll help you out. I educate the younger generation.
All right.
No, I started out in 89 on patrol. I was 29 years old when I started, and was hired by the Santa Monica Police Department. I was living in Santa Monica at the time. I'm a native New Yorker. That's one of the, honestly, the reasons why Tommy and I kind of really get along so well is I'm not saying we travel in the same circles or whatever back east, but we understand the same issues and things like that, and I always respect them for that. So, then I had come out here as an actor. Hey, that's an original story, and I was getting married. I met my wife in the industry. She had a daughter. Fell in love, and I wanted to, while I loved acting and stuff, and it just I needed, as a guy, me or whatever, with my upbringing and the influence on me, I need to be a responsible dad. That's what I thought, and so I need a responsible job or a regular job, and I love the cops. It's not that I grew up. I grew up in West Village in New York City, and we're talking during the 70s. New York City was a pretty happening place and stuff, and I loved it. I loved it as a kid and stuff, but I didn't know some of the dangers and stuff. So I put my stuff.
New York was very different than New York. Yeah.
Whole East Village was a shooting gallery. Mm-hmm. The ABC.
And you went to college. You didn't intend on being a police officer.
No.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't. Look. I'm going to be honest. I grew up in privilege. I went to Dalton School. Well, I went to public school. My mom's a social worker. She's my idol. I love that lady to death, and she's passed and stuff, but I try to live in her honor, every day. I really do, and with my family and stuff, because she was a special person, the first person to put herself through through college. I mean, she's a white German lady from a German family, trucking family in Pittsburgh and stuff. But
and so she was a social worker, and so that must have imprinted you, obviously, growing up. Just the fact that she dedicated her life to the service of other people.
Oh my God, she demystified stuff for me. Like she used to, on the way to public school, she was the reason we went to public school. I have older brother and sister until the 5th grade, because she wanted us to interact with all kids, all from all environments and stuff. PS41, a shout out to that, man, love it. I
was PS 152.
As I say, some people.
What about Red Sox fans?
Dude, we already talked about that off the air. It's not good to bring that on the air because
you already went to jail once.
I might have to get physical. No, but it's cool.
People.
No, the truth is, I love Red Sox fans because I'm not a Yankee fan. In New York, I'm a Met and Jet,
so you're
baby.
A Mets guy. Okay.
Met and Jet. Oh,
we got all kinds of beef going on here.
No.
My family's New York and Giants.
We're
gonna all fist fight after this. It's gonna be great.
Right.
I'll wrap this shit up. Sorry, but
what I wanted to kind of put together is, the influence of your mom and her service work as a social worker, and how you embody that as a police officer, and how that carried through you had an extremely successful career. I mean, you went from you worked the patrol, you did the HLP, which is the Homeless Liaison Patrol. You worked with the Vice, which undercover.
Homeless Liaison Patrol. Then from that, I went to Vice and Narcotics. That's something I always aspired to do, but I thought it would take me, when I first entered the force, like 10, 15 years. I had a real visionary chief that came in a year after I entered the Santa Monica Police Force. I'd like to give a shout out to him. He's the current mayor of Inglewood, James T. Butts, and a young African American man. I think he was like 37, 39 when he came in. He brought in new ideas and everything, the department, and he gave a lot of opportunity. And he gave opportunity across the board. It didn't matter race, creed, color, whatever, any of that stuff, man. He was about getting the job done, and he was a visionary. And it gave me, I thought Vice and Narcotics, which is what I really aspired to be. And when I entered the department, I thought, I couldn't even apply for something like that.
Wouldn't you think most cops, that's their goal, is to be?
I don't know about that. No, not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, yes, in my era when I started, not so much anymore. There's so many avenues. I mean, and this is some strange things, like with Rodney King, okay, and OJ. Now, we all know, like, the negative or whatever things we perceive, but it really, both of those things did a whirl of an incredible amount of support to law enforcement, the advancement. And I can talk about this. I mean, it's not that, we can get into that if you wanted to, but why, and accountability for law enforcement officers, also, how we present a case, how just so many things changed, during, as a result of that. And getting back to what's going on right now, a little bit is, I mean, this is so hard to see, because obviously I love the profession that I did. I was given great opportunities. I worked with some of the greatest people. Honestly exceeded my expectations. The people that I had the opportunity of working with. And
that's another thing that is important to that I've been talking about, is because I'm so I have family who are in law enforcement. I have I've obviously, you've introduced me. I've done service work with the Vice Squad, the Santa Monica PD, bringing anti-drug and alcohol presentations to the kids in the schools. And it hits different. It hits different. It's the Vice officers have their their pitch to the kids, and then when I go up there and I tell them about my experience as a recovered drug addict, and the story of what happened with my brother and I, who were twins, and we went two different directions, where we were kind of in gang mentalities and drug dealers and all that bullshit. I got out of it. I got sober. I became a rock star. My brother's still in jail. And it's important. I have a
wait. I just want to clarify. You're a rock star.
I am a rock star.
But I'm still prettier than
4 million records.
Right, I'm still better looking.
No, I know. Well, listen, it's not about the outsides. It's about the insides. There
you go. Okay.
Listen,
I just wanted to bring you down a peg. Rock star. Because you know what?
Well,
Every,
it just
every
sounds
cop
bad.
wants to be a rock star. Everybody wants to be a rock star.
Well, that's the thing that I always tell people. I'm like, every human being has an opportunity to be a hero to somebody else. We don't realize that it's like our relationships, our friends, like, you know, a teacher in school that affected me, that put ideas in my head that allowed me to believe I could be whoever I wanted to. Sometimes it doesn't come from our parents. Sometimes it doesn't come from our peers or our brothers and sisters. So everyone has the opportunity to be a hero to somebody else, and they're all law enforcement agents like yourself, officers that have been that to me. And so I have a real issue as an African American man with the media creating a new breed of racism against blue, and it's not okay. Because and we can't not say that there isn't an issue. Like, it's obvious. It's well documented, you know, and you know, personally, you know, I have been beaten up by the cops as a kid. I was a little shithead.
I know.
You know, and so
I want to beat you up right now.
Well,
no, I don't mean to. No, you know what? That wasn't fair. Actually, I need to apologize. because you're being serious.
Yeah, I am.
This is a serious thing.
But we break balls.
I know. I love you so much.
The
but,
humor.
You know, this is not the. You know, other people are here.
I was going to say he probably deserved the.
Well, that's I know. Well, listen, but that's the thing. It's like like inserting humor. I mean, that's something that Shane is like a comedian. And like, you're being really quiet because it's like very serious, but he's got 47 jokes that he hasn't told yet. Now I can just see his face. I'm like, oh God. So don't hold back. But yeah, this is the thing that's going on right now. And, you know, I'm curious as to, you know, one of your jobs was you were in charge of hiring new police officers. And I believe
5 years.
Yeah, and I believe that there is an issue with, you know, I think you can attest to the hiring process and the kind of psychological profiles that, you know, these cops who are not, they're dishonoring their badge by an overuse of power, an overuse of violence and aggression.
No, what we saw there, you know, honestly, I've listened, you know, for the last 3-4 days, people trying to qualify what they saw, because, you know, I mean, we're humans, you know, and so we try to justify what we're seeing, not justify, but, you know, just make some sense of it. And I'll tell you, you know, I spent 23 years pretty much on the street. I mean, I had some deals like, you know, where it was internal, but stuff, but there's just, you know, I don't want to look at it again. I've seen it, because I can't. I want to make sense of it, and I can't. But I'm someone who's been there because, you know, honestly, I don't want to go to this drastic, but you know, our job and stuff, and you know, there's no shame in saying I'm not up to this, you know, and stuff. But you know, our job is we are peace officers. This is the thing that you know, we're peace officers. First of all, that's the thing we're you know, employed. We are swear an oath to. We're educated to becoming in the academy and stuff. Peace officers. I mean, there are some things that are you know, tactical, military, because obviously sometimes you know you have to maintain the peace. And what does that mean? It's situational. But that I can't. You know, I can't, and I'm a educated guy and everything else, and I lived, you know, a life on the street, a lot of it, all on the street. I stayed on the street. You know, I promoted lieutenant just right at the end of my career, but because that's what I loved, and I loved the guys that worked the street, the guys, the girls, the civilians, you know, stuff. And
Steve, let me ask you a question: how often do like, you know, like in the military, they have a PT test or whatnot. So how often do policemen have to either do, you know, running, whatever it is for a physical thing, as well as weapons training?
Okay. Great question. You know, and this is the thing. Weapons training we do continually, or at least I like. Well, let me clarify. I can only speak for my experience with the Santa Monica Police Department. But I have a pretty broad knowledge of other, you know, stuff, and we have qualifications you have to maintain to be able to carry a firearm. Otherwise, if you can't, and this is just in firing accuracy, and this is under the not even extreme circumstances, you know, you would be put on a desk or whatever. There's a minimum. You're right. Okay.
Can you hit the target?
Well, hit the target. Well, yeah. I mean,
let's start there, right? And then.
But so that is always ongoing, and that has improved, and that's what I'm saying. Going back to Rodney King, what Rodney King did, in my opinion, because I started in '89, so I mean, it did so much for training, for internal training, for requirements for training. I mean, federally, but beyond federally, just the departments themselves and amongst them training to do that. It intensified it in a good way. And so it's such a complex issue in a way, because that training is everything. And I'll tell you one of the things that I was in personnel and training. I was in charge of the division as a sergeant. Had a great team working for me, diverse. And at the time, it was Santa Monica at that time needed more female officers. We need to be. One of the most important things to me is a police department has to be racially representative of its community, and communities change. I mean, communities change. Do you know what I mean? In demographics, with gentrification, that's a whole.
And do you mean equally across the board in the department, or you mean like Beverly Hills should be primarily a white department, or you mean?
I see what you're saying and stuff like that. You know, that's the hard thing. No, Beverly Hills
and Compton should have an all black, or should it be
no
as equal Latino, white, black, so that it's all.
It can't be whatever. To me, whatever you can't underrepresent a community in your community.
Right. So more white cops than black in Compton is
but you have to respect the demographic of your community.
I mean, you know, something we had a conversation about previously was that, you know, it's important to have police officers who live in the communities that they patrol, and how important is that for the other departments and the other precincts to take seriously?
Is that not how it works here?
No, it's not at all, and it's economic. And I'll tell you, that's everything. And I'll tell you why I can tell you that. For this individual sitting here in this seat, that's everything. Because I grew up, you know, in the West Village, and the police officers there was, I think, the 6th precinct, if I'm remembering correctly, on that. You know, we played stickball on the street. It was obviously a lot of different time. You know, I mean, there were only, 12 channels on the, you know, I'm an old school guy.
Cobblestone roads.
Yeah, we still. No, actually, Bank Street was still, man. That's a Boston guy, man. Love this guy.
Yeah,
old
I mean,
school.
Soho is still cobblestone too.
Yeah, no, Soho was. Yeah, I lived in Soho too, man. I went to Soho when Soho was vacant at the time before it was like, you know, the art and everything. Oh yeah, but that was you know, that's an example of somewhat gentrification in a way. Although that's not really appropriate there, because that was mostly textile or industry that kind of moved out of there, you know, kind of like that stuff at the time. But
to what you were saying, we're getting a little all over. But to what you're saying,
love
like,
you. This is why I can talk to you
grew
forever.
up, I grew up where I grew up. We were in the 63rd precinct. We knew the cops.
Well,
the cops knew our parents, and they kick our asses and take us home if we were bad.
Dude, that was it. My mom,
you know, but they knew us.
Come home sometimes from school. My mom, I literally, there's a cop sitting, a uniformed cop. Yeah. Sitting having a cigarette and a cup of coffee with my mom. My mom was like the mayor, you know. Like I said, she was just this type of lady.
Yeah.
And stuff. And you know, but the cops, I mean, we were playing stickball, you know, Leroy Street Park. My boy Don Warren, you know, and they would come, they'd play with us. They'd be walking, they were on a foot beat. They were assigned to that area for a long time. My mailman was my mailman forever. Right. People were so familiar. And what's happened, and this is one of the things, you know, that.
But isn't that something that why wouldn't they take what kind of works on the East Coast and bring it? Because like where I remember in Boston, like I grew up in a suburb outside of the city, and I believe, I'm not 100%, but I believe when I was a kid, you could live in the suburbs and be a Boston cop. But what happened was, they were taking patrol cars home, doing all this stuff, and because things were happening with guys that weren't from the city kids were like, fuck you. So then it became, unless you had a Boston address, you couldn't be a Boston or police.
Oh, really? I don't
police or fire in the city of Boston. So you have to have an address of where you want to be an officer. and that's how it is now. So a lot of guys.
Wait. How is it now in Boston?
Yeah, like you
Really?
can't be a Boston police officer unless you have a Boston address. So what some guys will
I
do
see what you're saying. Okay.
is my mom lives in Boston, I'll use her address.
Right.
I think.
I
but for the most part, because what that does is now, yeah, am I pissed off that I'm getting arrested by Joe that I went to third grade with?
No.
Yeah, but at least I'm pissed off at Joe that's known me my whole life.
I'm going to go even further than you. You know, Boston address. You what would really, work back when I was a kid, like all these guys that influenced me, is that their address was my address. It was the same neighborhood.
Right.
It wasn't just a Boston address like New York City is a big place. It was Greenwich Village. They lived, these guys lived because they could afford it too. This is a big thing. This is about economics. And I'll speak strictly to Santa Monica. When I came to Santa Monica as a kid, as an actor, was whatever, before I was a cop, I sublet a rent control place from an actress friend of mine who was getting married to a guy in New York. So I could afford it.
Yeah.
Right? I could afford to live there.
Yeah,
and this is in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica now, I just moved out of a one-bedroom apartment with my ex-girlfriend when we broke up. It was $4,200 a month for a cramped one-bedroom.
Crazy.
And there were homeless people living at the front door and the back door.
Right. But I'm saying,
so
but with the PD.
But nobody can afford that on a policeman's salary.
But you know what? But this is the thing that scares me the most. Is Santa Monica pays great. Santa Monica is probably one of the higher paying agencies and arguably better places to work. And my experience and training, everything is, and it's still not affordable. If you're going to have a family, maybe if you're a single person, because of the rent control. Yeah. So I would, I don't know how this, I'm not a economic guy or whatever, but if you just, especially when officers are starting their career, more than anything, starting their career, that they could live in the thing. That almost not be a requirement. You couldn't do that, but subsidize it.
So let's move out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's more realistic because you're seeing we don't really have we don't have these kind of issues in Santa Monica, Venice, really anymore. Right?
Well, hopefully not. I understand there's a rally there today, and hopefully it will be like the rally that it should be, peaceful and people expressing their opinion.
Well, we could talk about all that too. To the point, I think it is important for African American communities to have their neighbors who are police officers in their own community because you need to know each other.
Exactly.
And that's a model that's not being upheld. I want to talk about profiling because this is important because, Shane and I know we're not shy of running into the law over the years.
Hey, guys. I know you, and I'm scared of you just by looking at you. Okay, so yes. Okay.
Well, there's a different kind of racism.
Yes.
And it's like you've seen like the woman, like the Karen woman in the park last week where she was walking her dog off the leash, and she called the police and said a black man is attacking me. She identified the situation, and this woman probably voted for Hillary Clinton and all this other shit. And this is a new kind of racism. So these are the same people. If you ask them, they know the script. The liberal, the far left know the script, but they're utilizing.
To me, it's like I do mean it. Because it's a new kind of fearism.
Of course,
more to me, than where it's like. Because from what I'm understanding, but I don't know much about that particular lady, or something, she like some people have come up in support of like who she is as a person or whatever. But it's just like, that fear that, and we got to be honest about social media and everything else, all these mediums that are so new. I mean, we're talking in the, I can remember I was so excited when I joined, when I was promoted to Vice Narcotics and they gave me a beeper. I thought I was king of the world, dude.
Yeah,
I was like, man, I got a beeper.
Times are different, and the thing that's important to address. This is one of the things that I want to address that's getting overlooked is the way that, first of all, the media's portrayal of law enforcement is enabling people who are in fact truly racist to weaponize law enforcement against the African American community, but then go ahead and pretend through their social media and like there's a lot of these people. And I went through this in a relationship. I went through a breakup, and I was accused of abusing my ex-girlfriend when she found out I was dating someone new after she had been abusing alcohol, Xanax, steroids, and been physically violent with me. And I had to go and get a lawyer and a private investigator and a dozen witnesses to testify against the allegation she was trying to bring against me. No, she attempted, she even called the police and told them that I was attempting to commit suicide at my previous apartment, and I had to move out. And because of my height, my color, and my size, they sent 9 police officers to on a check.
Well, no, okay, I can't because that's like specifics. I have to see the call and stuff too. But there is something where I do support. In this case, based upon the call that comes in and the way it comes in, that determines the exigence of how we respond.
Of course.
And also about the availability of officers. Now, I'll say in Santa Monica, one of the things that was very, I really appreciated, and this didn't realize until, I experienced it as a Santa Monica police officer, is we had a good coverage of the area. Like I said, they paid, the city government, the citizens of Santa Monica, they really supported. So there was a good coverage. People can get there and stuff, but
is it standard practice to send 9 police officers on a wellness check?
No. Well, wellness. I can't. I want to be careful to say because, I need to see the actual call to know what type of wellness check or what existed at that location. Because understand this: when someone gives us a wellness check at a location, right? The responsible thing to do for dispatch and for the and they provide information to the officer. Dispatch is the people at the station. Is to check the location, see what prior calls went up there, see if they're guns. There's a whole litany of information that the public's not privy to that can influence an officer's mind and how to hold on and the level of response and it's for safety. It's not for aggressive attitude. It's to degress. That's
but
at the outset.
I think the problem with that is so if there's a call that comes in tattooed black male, 9 are coming. Call comes in.
No, not happening. No, it never doesn't come like that. Sean doesn't.
Well, I mean, we saw. Well, basically,
the thing is this: if I'm yelling at a Starbucks,
yeah,
and a white woman is yelling at Starbucks, maybe only 4 are coming, but for that lady, 2 officers are going to walk inside and say, "Ma'am, you need to come outside." If it's me, there's a good chance already hands are on the taser because of how I look. She could be the more threatening.
But wait.
But what I want to do is talk about this is our experience.
Yeah,
and what we need to do is this is what I think the solution is.
Right.
Is when officers are responding, people like us who fit the profile, whether it's because we're black or just male, because we are of a certain athletic and physical stature, we need to educate the public on the proper protocols to respond to law enforcement to avoid conflict. So let's talk about that.
And okay, with all due respect, we're talking, you're looking at it and people can't see me, or maybe they can. Can they see me? Oh, they can. Okay. I
Just your just your feet.
That's
just your feet.
So
you're too handsome.
They didn't see me okay. No. But the truth is, look, I even talked to my I grew up, like I say, I grew up affluent. There's no way to say it, regardless of what principles my parents taught me, or my mom, my dad, their situation and stuff.
So what do we do?
Well, wait, this is what I'm saying. But my parents talked to me about law enforcement. My parents. Now, my parents were part of the Independent Democrats. When Ed Koch was a member of them, Bella Abzug and stuff. They were very politically active, and stuff too. But because of that, so they were like But me, I'm like, I remember when they talk, I'm thinking, why are they talking about what? Why am I ever going to deal with a cop? Like in that manner. But because they knew of the interaction itself, just to de-escalate it. So that is so important what you're talking about. Just because ego comes into this, and past experiences and everything when you're approached. I'm scared. Not scared. That's not the right term. But I am always. I'm a civilian now. I've been a civilian since 2012. Okay. even in Santa Monica, half the force is different, you know, in the last 8 years or, you know, I am always aware when I see a police officer or a police car behind me, and I'm not saying I'm scared. No, I'm not. I wouldn't go there. But I definitely stop at the, you know, I do.
Yeah,
I change my behavior, and I'm not, you know. So I can only imagine, you know, Tom. I mean, come on, man. Look.
So some of the things that I've been taught to do is like if I get pulled over, well, I don't keep my wallet on me.
Okay.
My wallet is in the center console.
Okay.
And if I get pulled over, which I've gotten pulled over,
right?
I've gotten pulled over for DUI checks.
Sure.
Which is hilarious because like I'm like, open my glove box and it's like my sobriety book and they're like, get out of here. But I keep my wallet with my ID in my center console so I don't have to reach for anything. As soon as I get pulled over, I put it on the dashboard. If you have tinted windows, put all your windows down.
Good, very good point.
Always put all your windows down. Always put your hands on the wheel. You know, turn the car off, turn the music off.
Based upon my experience and stuff, and being on, like I say, on the street for the majority of my career, and this stuff, my advice would be, and this would be to anybody. This doesn't know race, but obviously more so for people who might feel like, you know, like scared for a good reason or whatever.
Of course,
passage, you know, is you know, pull over at the you know, the earliest convenience in a way without
where it's most safe.
Where you're not your safety, whatever, you know, so no one and then just wait, don't get out of the car, you know, put your, like, a very good thing, because your hands, if your hands are on the wheel, it's visible. Remember the officer, and this is.
I would also say too, like, if they ask and you have it, like, I'm gonna get my wallet.
Oh no, never make a move.
No.
This is
telling them that I'm getting. If they say,
that's what
let
I'm
me
saying.
see your license.
You're right. Ask. Just tell them, like, if you don't have it on your person.
Yeah. Don't start fidgeting around.
Don't just if they just wait for them. They're going to come. Obviously, you're stopped.
Of course,
They're going to come approach you. That's the fact. You're stopped. So just wait. Put your hands on the wheel, and it's a. I don't know if humiliating is the right word, but it's an uncomfortable experience. It is for me, and I've been stopped. I've been stopped by PD.
I've toured in a van and an RV where I was driving all across the country. I've been stopped in plenty of states just because I fit the description. Yeah, you know, and it's something that, you know, I don't have outrage about.
No, but if you
to
get
that,
it,
because I don't like. I have there's different levels of things that affect me. Like in a situation, like I grew up. If I'm in the wrong neighborhood and I'm in somebody else's neighborhood in a gang neighborhood, like when I first moved to LA, I moved to East LA. That's where I moved, and there was MS-13 all over the place. Right. And I went to the laundromat and like. There was somebody's chick was like, talk to me, and then there was a problem.
Well, here's a great example.
I had to deal with those men in a way of, hey, just so you guys know, I'm not in a gang. I'm a musician. I'm here. I'm like, I don't know nobody. I don't want, you know, and this is your block. Right. I respect it. If you want me to leave, I'll leave. Right. You know, I'm not, and that's everywhere, no matter what neighborhood. Right. And I've dated girls in like the projects and East New York, like, in New York,
legit,
you have to learn to communicate with other men. And that's, and like,
what, you want to talk about profiling?
And they're completely different.
But profiling on the other level, when I first came to LA and the Lakers played at the Forum, you know, and stuff, and I was going down there. And I didn't know, this is when we had Thomas guys. We didn't have any of the electronics. So I'm like looking, I'm lost. And, you know, I was stopped by an Inglewood officer, right? And said, hey, what do you, you know, he came up to me and he said, what are you doing here? Okay. And I said, I'm going to a Laker game. I don't, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, you don't want to be in this neighborhood. Yeah. Now he stopped me because I was a white guy. Okay. The truth is he didn't tell me this, but it's either because he thought I was there to buy drugs. Okay. Or he was concerned. Because that's what he, you know, was for my safety, that I was in the wrong place. And sometimes people don't know, you know that. I mean, there are areas you don't want to be. Like, for instance, what we see going on now when you got rioting or whatever. If you come down there to observe, you have to understand that's your right. Yeah, but you're putting yourself in danger.
Yeah. Well, that's another. One of the things that really, I mean, you know, a thing that I want to address is what's really bothering me is there is a massive Hollywood push that all people of celebrity are not allowed to condemn the rioting. I formally publicly condemn any rioting associated with any movement that is trying to create and forge change for the African American community.
Yeah.
I'm an African American man. I do not support. I don't support police brutality.
Right.
I don't support police homicide.
Neither do I.
Yeah, and I don't support judicial negligence.
No.
But I don't support rioting. I don't support looting, and I don't support public destruction of property and violence.
Right.
And what's happening is, you know, if you online, as I continue to investigate all this stuff, you're finding that there are people who are showing up to these protests who don't care about the movement.
Right.
They're not there for Black Lives Matter.
They're delaying the movement because of their behavior. They're delaying
it's a
the
reason
movement.
to be a delinquent.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're these
Which
people,
I was when I was a teenager.
Yeah,
You know, I'll be
smashing
honest about it.
windows, but it's people of all colors. There are
Right.
videos of guys
no.
dressed in all military black who are breaking windows so they could go loot,
Right.
or they can escalate the situation. There's a lot of strange things going on, and there's a lot of political charge behind
Absolutely.
this. And people are not talking about the economic fallout of COVID-19. They're not talking about the extended lockdown order that was unnecessary. They're not talking about the way the news, the mainstream media should be charged with terrorism for the way that they terrorize the American public with fear. And that fear was so bad that even after the virus has been deemed only 0.26% of the population would be that it was lethal, which is less than influenza. People are so terrified by the news that even the CDC's guidelines that have changed now don't want to go back to society and don't want to go back to work. And we also have to talk about the other issues, that there have been riots all over the country since last Tuesday, and the hospitals are not filled with COVID-19 patients. And it's all very peculiar. The news is not reporting on this anymore. So it's like they're going from one catastrophe to another. Yeah. And I'm wondering how complicit they are within creating these reactions and who is benefiting from it.
You know, and the thing is, too, with the fear is that's trickling into the public as well as police officers. Yeah. So now that's why I asked you about the training and stuff, because like we talked about, if being a police officer paid higher and had more qualifications, would that make a difference? Now, when I was I can tell from my experience of being in Bosnia and having to check vehicles for bombs and our rules of engagement, and like it was literally, you know, your finger stays like this until, like, let's say there's a kid with a Molotov cocktail. If he's just holding it, oh well. Until he is literally at this phase is when you can fire a shot at him. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of these things are happening. If even right now I'm a police officer and I get a call to Watts and there's a situation, I am going there already with holy shit if I'm not properly trained for this. And I think that's what ends up happening is holy shit, and then goes for a cell phone or does something, there's so much going on, and you know these kids are out there with water guns shooting at the cops stuff. I mean, you're putting me, what I have as a job, if I'm checking your car in Bosnia for a bomb and you're doing some wild shit in the car or whatever, you're making me uneasy. So I think it's the duty of both sides of them being trained well enough to not operate out of a place of fear, and me realizing who this is. It's a peace officer. This is somebody that is, has a job to do.
There is an interesting component of consequence, and I think that the African American community is mostly outraged by the lack of consequences for officers that do not uphold the rules and regulations of being a peace officer. Right. And so
here's, that's
what do you think about that?
All right, that's a great and ultimate question, because I think that's where we're here right now with obviously that one gentleman, was or gentleman. I'm sorry, I refer to everyone as a gentleman.
Yeah. That guy,
and this, the one human being. No, I wouldn't even whatever. There's no way. See that I got to be careful what I say
to
because
the officer or to
well, I wouldn't even
gentleman.
call him that.
Yeah,
the
douchebag who killed George Floyd.
Let's understand, he's not an officer anymore. Yeah. They fired. I've never seen swifter justice in my not justice, swifter action in my profession with all four of them being released. There is, and this is the very intricate thing. There is the rule of law, and there is the process. And the process can be slow at times for certain things. Of
course.
And you have to
I mean,
understand
look
that,
at what we've seen with Jeffrey Epstein and that's the problem.
Jeffrey Epstein taught at Dalton when I went to Dalton.
Makes sense.
Yeah. He was a creep back then too, man. My mom
he
complained to him about the
he
the
lied
PTA.
on his resume and he was kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jeffrey Dalton, but we, back then I was just pissed because he was talking to the girls that we had no game with. So
did you ever try to
yeah,
steal
well,
his lunch money?
He was also like 30 years older than you.
I was going to say, did you ever try to steal his lunch money?
No, but I'd like to kick his ass now if he was still alive.
Yeah, me too.
But
that's an example of how
right.
That's an extreme example of the imbalance of power, where someone who is $1 billion can manipulate the system and escape justice. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves because that's a whole that's a whole separate show. About.
Hold on.
Okay, let's get back to it.
The justice, if you're talking about a justice for the rich or the well-to-do or who have means, and the justice who don't, that's a whole. I mean, if we can't. Please don't start on that now because that's a separate show.
Let's get right
because it's legit
and
stuff. But there's ways to talk about that I don't think apply kind of to this in a way.
Well, let's roll back and stay on topic and come back to the previous history of let's say the Eric Garner situation, where or Rodney King or any. There's so many where there has been no real consequence for the execution of African Americans in these situations that now, and I think that it's important to note it's not that.
Well, there has been but there has been consequence. What we're talking about is inefficient. Consequence to the normal psyche. I don't care what your training is or what your race or anything else. Your humanity, normal, to humanity, but. There are some things, and these are discussions we need to have because they're protections. And this is where we'll go back and, again, like a long separate story, but I was for 5 years in personnel training, hiring officers. I came into that unit in 2006. The nation was fat, dumb, and happy. We were economy, everything else, booming, boom, boom, boom. Do you know how hard it was for me to get qualified officers? We had to go out and recruit. We had to give or offer bonuses
and make them chase you in a truck so they'd run.
Well, because the private industry was given stock options. All these things are attractive and understandably for people, young people, making their things. So
there's also, for example, privatized security in Los Angeles. If you're intelligent, I was a bodyguard. I've worked for celebrities as a bodyguard. I've worked as a drug and alcohol counselor for celebrities. Part of one job got the other. And it pays substantially more. So it's going to be hard to convince someone who is, who is legally allowed to have a concealed carry license and has gone through the steps of CPR and all the things that you have to do to qualify, but not get paid $1,000 a day.
Right.
Well, do you know what? Honestly, to me, the thing that in my experience, and this is from my personal existence, in the profession and everything from '89. On, and 92 being, Rodney King and OJ being, it's really, really seminal parts, is that, a lot of people got scared. While they might want to be active now, I was someone who, I wasn't, I don't know, my parents are dead, so I can say this. They didn't raise me to be a police officer, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't mean to besmirch them in that way, but they, with all due respect, I mean, the education or whatever. And my dad said to me, and he kind of meant it jokingly, but, some too, when I told him I was going to make this decision, he's saying, well, there goes, $100,000 in college education. Because, at the time, you only need a college degree. Or, I'm sorry, a high school degree, and stuff. But I think part of that was fear. His fear for me, or and I fear for I.
Now, would you attribute your success as an officer?
Yes.
To the education that was made available to you?
Oh my God, my success as an officer is because my things that were made available to me in life, and that I mean by the privilege. I'll be honest with you, for the education or having this stuff, but also, my dad wasn't involved with my life, and that, Tom, we've talked about this and stuff. My dad was a great provider and a good man, a World War II veteran. But emotionally, He was not,
That
that involved. A good
most
man.
of our generation.
But my mentors, my true mentors, where I learned from stuff that was like or whatever, like, oh, okay. The intuitive stuff that as a human soul and as a human being that, were my coaches. Yeah. My coaches, I had great coaches. I had some great teachers. They saved my life. I mean, period, when I was a teenager, because I was headed down and, people can take
path
this.
Me and Tommy took.
Anger. We were angry.
Course,
I was angry. I didn't know how to, I didn't know why, I was an athlete. I was, that's what my passion was. My family was academic. So no one came to my games or whatever. And I resented that. I'm like, why? I was captain of my football, so I was doing well, but yet, I resented it. I felt hurt by it at first. And then when I became teenager and when those hormones go, and everybody, that stuff changed in me, then I said, you know what? I said, fuck it. Fuck you. I said, that's the truth is, and I'm so thankful that I got to have the relationship that I did with my parents.
But I think something that you said earlier about humanity, I feel like that has to be a huge reason why you had such a success as a police officer.
Absolutely.
Because humanity came first. The way that this guy, to take a life is not easy under any circumstance.
No.
Yeah.
The way that this guy casually kneeled on another human being's neck for 9 minutes is crazy.
It's not. It's not. I wouldn't. I can't even. No, I'm not going to even give it crazy. It's incomprehensible, and I think that's what we're seeing out in the street. Yes, is it influenced by the COVID and the people's losing jobs? I mean,
no coughing, no
just
coughing.
fucking gave it to me.
No, I'm just like when I get excited, man, and stuff. But it's true. There's so many factors that are part of this. But I can't. And I consider myself like somewhat edgy. Like I say, I've had the best. But I can't even put into words what that was. I don't know how. And this is where the other officers, how. His partners.
Did he outrank them?
Yes. This is what. Wait, I don't know about rank. I can't say to that.
So,
but he had 19 years. I'm going to guess looking. Yeah. This is just from a visual to
like
me.
And
the other people, I'm going off the video.
Go.
And that is a factor. It is where.
And so that's why none of the other officers.
You're not going to.
No. Let's not say that's why no one. I'm not going to make that an excuse. Right. You know what I mean? But it influences. And I'll tell you this, I learned this as a lieutenant. When I became a lieutenant doesn't go out in the field, really. They go out after a command post or whatever.
Yeah.
That's their duty. They're watch commander of the station. At least at Santa Monica, again, I can't.
Without a leader, you fall. So that's why you keep the leader.
Well, and you have to, your responsibility is to notify all the appropriate personnel in an exigent circumstance and everything else. Okay. But I used to, because I love being on the street. And I was on the street for the most of my career, and that's why I stopped.
But that's what made you a great lieutenant. When I was in the military, lieutenants that came from college didn't know shit.
Right.
Ones that were enlisted and then took the test and became a lieutenant, those are the guys that know what it's like to dig a fucking
trench.
That's
what fragging was all about, and kind of in a way, but I mean, I'm not condoning. But wait, I just want to finish that. That I used to go out because lieutenant is predominantly administrative, and stuff and oversight, but I didn't like sitting still. I didn't like sitting in the seat. So I'd go out in my car. I had and I'd back up on calls. And I like sometimes to relieve my troops thinking I'm a good lieutenant, right? My watch and stuff where there's a call that's been pending, something that where someone yelling in the street and it's 2 hours old. You still have to clear the call. So I'd go out and clear it. Well, my sergeants talk to me and they're right. They're right. People, the other officers, because the norm, why is a lieutenant rolling out in the field? What's up? Oh, shit. Are we in trouble? And stuff. Lieutenants don't go out. Yeah. It's that, but that's the perception. But I'm like, hey, but this is me. But this is you. And Tommy, you know me. This is me. I'm saying, yeah, but it's me. I'm Heine.
Right.
These guys know me. They know me because as an officer. They know me as a sergeant. They know what I'm about.
Because otherwise it's like, oh, shit.
And my sergeant, Sal Lucio, gave me the greatest lesson for me, and at the same time, my worst day as a law enforcement officer, because I realized this is the end of my kind of career for me in my passion, what I love. He said, he looked at the bars on my thing. He said, the bars, man, that's what they see. And you know what? And I'm like,
the brass.
And he goes, hey, man, remember when you started? Remember when you heard a LT going out in the field? how did it make you feel? Whether it was your favorite LT or or what? It's like, oh
Yeah,
shit, something's up.
Everybody's tight.
It's just the protocol. That's the paramilitary. You know, some of the stuff where these things. But it's true. He was right. He was right, and I was making them uncomfortable. But when I showed up in the scene, they would defer to me. Do you know what I mean? Because they're like, okay, the lieutenant's here, the you know, whatever, the notice, and people, when I say the audience, the public, right? Because they see that, everyone knows what those means. You know, the stripes on. They come up to the guy and talk to you. No, I don't want to talk to the officer. I want to talk to the boss. You know, and so I was interfering with their work. So I had to, you know,
fall back.
And I had to. We talked about it though. We talked about it as a unit.
That power structure, as having seniority, affected the other officers' ability to step in.
I believe it affected not their ability. They always had the ability. Okay. In fact, everyone who owns the badge has the ability. That's why they're given that badge. They're trained for that ability. It affected their judgment in stepping.
Another question that I have for you that you can specifically answer, which I find peculiar, in the video where George Floyd is murdered, the ambulance pulls up. There are no EMTs.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there are police officers that respond, and they put him on a gurney, and they look like state troopers. They're in the beige tops, and they have firearms. They're obviously officers, and they put him into an ambulance and take him away. And no one attempts to resuscitate him.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, just so you know, the only thing I saw, I've seen two videos. I saw a video from on one side of the car where you can kind of only just see that one officer was charged with I'm sorry, he was an officer at the time, and you know, but the person who was charged with murder, and then subsequently I saw another video from kind of the other side where you see all four officers, one officer kind of standing, directing whatever, and three officers on the guy, including the guy who's charged with murder, and two others who I don't know who they are. Yeah, are they all white or of pale complexion?
That's what I we got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do two of these.
I could talk about this forever because it's important.
I mean, in my neighborhood alone, I'm in, you know, the Melrose, La Brea, Fairfax. It's a fucking disaster right now. And like, where do we go? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think for the people who are peacefully protesting, I think it's important that you become vigilant, and everyone has a phone. The people who are causing the destruction, they need to be filmed because they're not part of the cause. My buddy lives off Melrose. The entire, his entire block was destroyed. There was a car burnt in front of his home. He picked up a piece of paper off the floor, which was organized instructions, Antifa instructions for these organized people who are escalating the protest into violence because these people are anarchists and they are communist.
I don't think they're escalating the protest. They're taking it hostage.
Well, yeah,
they're taking it literally hostage.
Well, they're hijacking it.
Where the people that are rightfully protesting. You know what I loved? I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I love seeing, like, early on in the protests, there were I saw what I attributed to be families. I saw some kids. This is during the day, you know, and stuff, and stuff too, which is great. You know, educate your kids about your rights as American. You know, everything else. But
it's become dangerous now. How their kids have been maced, and it's because
they weren't at the early part. You know, I mean, we have to. Well, we have to respect that there was peaceful. Protesting.
But what
Black Lives Matter came out, and I mean, you know, people want to say, like, sometimes they get a bad rap.
It's because they're being infiltrated by these other exterior.
Right, they came out and did a good job. Yeah. They literally did. In the beginning,
but
even
because
them,
of these guys that are doing the anarchy shit and everything that's happening, it's taking complete. We're losing focus of what the protest was for. So how close are we to martial law and the National Guard coming out here?
And we're already at martial law.
We're at martial law.
We have the
curfew.
Well, I mean, what I consider enough to be martial law is we have the curfew and we have the National Guard.
Yeah. So I mean,
we're been deployed?
Yeah, they're
here.
Deployed. They're here. And so, you know, we've been declared a state. Syria. Yeah, we've been declared in a state of emergency, and People have to pay attention. Listen, if you're going to protest, it's you know,
Please.
as an African American man, please do not allow these people. There are white people who are spray painting Black Lives Matters and smashing windows and doing all this stuff, and they're escalating a peaceful protest. And there are also young people who are taking this opportunity as free, like to
Tommy,
criminalization.
Should white people be out protesting with black people?
Yes,
first?
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody. This is a
yellow
this
people,
is an issue.
gray people.
Yeah, this is an
blue
American
people. I don't
issue.
give
It's a
shit.
power issue,
Cops,
right?
cops should be out. Off-duty cops.
Well, I
should
think
be out
it's-
protesting. I mean,
Well, if you
peacefully.
see in Flint, Michigan, the sheriff's department, they showed up to they came to the protest and they said, "How can we help?"
Right.
And they marched with the people, and it was
Absolutely.
peaceful. The same thing happened in Miami. They prayed. The police all took a knee and they prayed.
Yeah.
This is the change that we need to forge within our communities. We need to.
It's the people. Everybody needs to come together.
But when there are large groups of people and there are small groups within those groups that want to cause chaos and anarchy, they're
All it
going
takes
to
is
do
one
it.
spark to start a fire.
It's our responsibility, if we're going to protest, to identify these individuals who are the criminality.
Well,
and they are not. We should not. And at any entertainment level, anybody in the industry, the music industry, the film industry, we are not there is no justification. There is no I am black. I have been a victim of racism.
Right.
I have been a survivor of racism. And I'm not condoning destruction of public property, destruction of private property, violence against police officers, violence against white people. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between stating that there needs to be change, and you can't go and hate white supremacists if you're going to be a black supremacist.
Right.
And you also have to pay attention. There are white supremacists who want to see you vilified and villainized, and they're going to assimilate into your outrage, and they're the ones who are going to destroy property to make the black community look like quote unquote thugs. And we have to stop them from being allowed to insert themselves and hijacking a peaceful protest.
And one of the things I think that really, and you hit on in the beginning of what you started with the entertainment industry or whatever, obviously, look, we're in Hollywood. You know? I mean, I came in here in Hollywood as an actor. Okay, I thought I was going to make it as a police officer. Well, I did in a different capacity as a police officer, a real one. Yeah. But, this is the thing is, you know what? You could speak your mind and stuff, and I love that. I mean, that's what I love about this country. That's what I love that we have a right to. But you know what? You really want to help? Come down. Come to that protest.
Up.
Stay there.
Just
be there. Be there. Put yourself.
Don't post a picture.
It just because anyone can do that, and you have a platform. People look at you. I mean, I've been educated. And maybe I should be ashamed to say this. No, wait. Hold on. Maybe I should be ashamed to say this. I've been educated in this protest because F-12. I was looking at some of these things that people are spraying. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't know what that means.
Fuck 12.
Well, right. I didn't know what that means because I don't know the music of today.
You got to get a 21 Savage record.
Well, but I'm thinking, Adam, you know what? No, but I had to look to find out. But so to understand, it's about understanding what's going on. What what we're really talking about here, and let's talk. Let's not fight. Yeah. Let's talk. Yes.
Well, look,
we can be angry. Let's all be angry.
We got to wrap up. But the bottom line is just had a lieutenant, a
retired
lieutenant, a former white supremacist that fucking facilitates breath work and helps people with trauma.
That wasn't the lieutenant. That's
half black, half white kid from Brooklyn, and we all just came in here and sat down to talk about what's going on, like love and tolerance,
peacefully with love and tolerance, and this solution-oriented conversations.
Right.
And it's going to get heated, and it's okay. Don't hurt each other. Don't hate each other. Insults are not going to work. Right. We have to start becoming more conscious of what's going on in a way, at a frequency that will support change, and that means keeping people accountable on every side.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Steve Heineman,
Citizen Steve Heineman.
Citizen Steve.
Citizen Steve.
Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Much love to my co-host, Tommy Vext. We'll be back. This is episode 1, and we're rolling out, so stick around. Subscribe, hit that like button, and we're coming at you guys. We're not going anywhere. So thank you for tuning in.
Stay safe.
Hey, man.